Hi, my name is Ali Orooji. I'm the programming team faculty advisor. I work with 6 coaches in training the team and taking them to various competition. This is the orientation for the local contest where we select the team members. The orientation, we actually have 2 videos. I will go over general concepts, and then the coaches have a video that gives you all the details of how to log in and use the system and other system details. So please make sure you watch the second video as well. Now, for the competition, you'll see in the next slide, we're going to do it in stages, but you register only one time. You don't need to register several times. Here is the website to register for the local contest. And then when you register, you provide your UCF email address, and then the coaches will email you your login information. The local contest, we're going to do it in stages, I mentioned before. The first Saturday in fall, we're going to do what we call practice contest. The results don't count. It is just intended to show students who've never competed before how this contest works. The first Saturday in fall, there is foundation exam in the morning, so we're going to do it in the afternoon. So the student can, those who are taking foundation exam, can take the exam, have lunch, and then do this practice one. The practice contest will be online. It will be at 2 o'clock, but we're going to leave the practice contest open for a few days in case somebody misses that day and they have an opportunity to do it later. Then the second Saturday in fall, we have what we call a qualifying contest. This one will be online as well. It will be at 2 o'clock, and it will be 3.5 hours. This competition, it is called the International Collegiate Programming Contest, ICPC. They usually do it 5 hours, but our qualifying, since it is online, we're going to do it only 3.5 hours. The purpose of qualifying is to reduce the number of students to around 70 or 80 that they would fit in one lab on campus. So the third Saturday in fall, September 11th, we're going to hold the final round, and that one will be on campus. We all go to one lab and do the contest. That day, we're going to meet at 10 o'clock, so everybody gets to use the computer in the lab to make sure they are comfortable. And then we take a lunch break, and the contest is at 5 hours. And by the time we'll do the award ceremony, it will be at nighttime. So please plan on an all-day event. Now, our students have done extremely well. Some of you are familiar with programming team record, but if you haven't heard about the UCF programming team, they have done extremely well. Our students have actually finished top 3 in the region every single year. This competition is a worldwide event. We compete in what is called Southeast Regional, and there are 5 states and usually 120 teams. And if you do well, you advance to next round and higher level competition. Our students have finished top 3 every single year, and no other university in the region has done that. And the reason we do so well, number one, we have a very talented students, and they are willing to work hard and put the time and effort, so we succeed. And the second reason, we have several former team members who volunteered their time to train the team. So you are really in good hands. And of course, this year, we like it to be like the previous years, and continue to do well. Now, the practice contest and qualifying round is online, so you won't get to meet the coaches in person. But the final round will be on campus, so you will meet the coaches. We have 6 coaches. We got Jim, Chris, Arup, Glenn, Travis, and Tom. And if you add up number of years these 6 coaches have been involved with the programming competition, it adds up to more than 100 years. So they have a lot of experience, and you are in good hands. If you are willing to put the time and effort, you're going to become a great problem solver and a great programmer. So when you look for internship or full-time job, you are in great shape. Now, the competition, the way it works, you get a bunch of problems, let's say 8, 9, 10 problems, and you have one computer. Of course, local contests, you compete as individuals, so one computer is not the problem. But when we go to regional or world final, a team consists of 3 students, and they have to share the computer. So that is a single resource and 3 users, so they have to manage the time. And the contest I mentioned is 5 hours, but our qualifying round will be 3.5 hours. And the person that solves the most wins. So if one person solves 8 problems and everybody else solves 7 or fewer, 8 wins. But when you have 100 students, 200 students, there is a good chance several of them will finish the same number of problems. So there is a penalty system for tiebreaker, and I will explain that in a few minutes. So when you get the setup problem, let's say 10 of them, you create a file for each of them you want to work on. So each problem will have a file, and it will be like .c or .java, whatever language you use. And if you read a problem and something is ambiguous, you can always ask questions from the judges. And once you have a solution and you've tested it and you're comfortable, you submit it for judges to look at, and they run it. And you submit 1 file per problem. And for competition, you read input from keyboard and you send output to screen. And this competition is a test of problem solving skills. It is algorithmic. It's not really user interface or GUI stuff. So you don't need any fancy I/O. When you submit a solution, you're going to get one of these responses back. You usually compile your code before submitting so you don't get compile time error. But if it is the last minute of the contest and you don't really have time to compile, you submit, there is a good chance there is a missing parenthesis or semicolon, so you get compile time error. Runtime error is like a out of bound array reference or division by 0. Time limit exceeded. Usually the straightforward solution works. I would say 99% of the time, 99% of the problems, a straightforward solution works. You don't need to complicate solutions or come up with efficient, fancy solutions. But when you go to higher level of competition, let's say world finals, they may put a couple problems that if you do exhaustive search, it's going to take like 1 or 2 hours. So they usually have a time limit. And if you exceed that, they give you time limit exceeded. So a problem may have, say, 5 seconds time limit. And when you exceed that, they stop your program and say time limit. Wrong answer, if the answer is supposed to be 10 and you print 25, obviously it is wrong. Incorrect format. Usually the problem shows you how the output should look like. Let's say the letters supposed to be uppercase. And if your output is lowercase, you are not following the format. And correct is, of course, what you would like to get. Now, in the past, when we had a few students participating, the judges would actually judge the problems manually. So they would see things and they can tell the students, like if you are not reading from keyboard or not printing to screen, they would tell the students. But nowadays, with 150, 200 students, we have automated judging, and the automated judging cannot detect things. So it cannot tell you the messages you see on the screen. Like too much output before, if we saw debug prints in the output, we would tell the students you have extra print statement. But again, automated judge cannot detect that. Or if the output is supposed to be 10 lines and somebody was printing 8 lines, with manual judging, we would notice that and tell a student, but automated judging cannot detect that. So you will not get any of these responses you see on the screen. Now, scoring, the #1 criteria is number of problems. So again, if somebody solves more problems than anybody else, then that person wins. But if several people finish the same number of problems, there is a penalty point system for tiebreaker. Now, there is no penalty for a problem if you don't finish it. Only when you finish a problem, you get penalty points for that problem. Of course, you do want to finish problems regardless of how many penalty points, because the number one criteria is a number of problems. When you finish a problem, you get 1 minute, you get 1 penalty point per minute since the beginning of the contest. So if you finish a problem after 1 hour, you get 60 penalty points for that. If you finish your second problem 30 minutes after that, it is really 1.5 hours from the beginning of the contest. So you get 90 penalty points for your second problem. So you would have 60 for one and 90 for one. So far you have 150 penalty points. And then also when you do finish a problem, if you have extra submissions, you are penalized for that. Let's say you submit a problem 5 times and you finally get it right. You have a 4 incorrect attempt. You get 20 penalty points for each of those. So 4 times 20, you get 80 penalty points. Now, a strategy, the coaches are going to work with you the entire year to prepare you for the competition. So you have an entire year to master this. A 5-minute introduction is not going to make everybody master. So this is a very, very brief overview. This competition, one problem counts as one problem. You don't get extra points for harder problem. So you want to do the easy one. And you want to keep things simple. There is no reason to complicate things. And you want to look at all the problems to do the easy ones. And make sure you read the problem carefully. Sometimes there is a minor thing that if you overlook, you think a problem is easy, but it's really difficult. And you want to test your program. And since you have your own computer, you can use debugger. You don't have to worry about your teammates waiting to use the computer. But be careful when you use debugger, you lose track of time. So be careful with that. And don't think that because the contest is 5 hours or 3.5 hours, you have to rush into solution. You really want to take time to understand the problem, make sure your algorithm works, and then start typing. If you rush into typing, you may spend like 1 hour, 90 minutes, and then you realize your approach is totally wrong, and then you wasted like 2 hours. So it is really worthwhile to take extra time to make sure your approach is correct. And don't think that you have to use the computer every single minute. You know, short breaks sometimes help. And also staring at the monitor, sometimes it's hard to see the errors in your program to find the bugs. If you look at it on paper, you may see it quicker. And make sure you work at your own pace. That is really the best way to get the most done. Now, for practice contests, since the results don't count, we use old problem. There is really no reason to spend a whole month writing a new problem set and solutions and judge data for practice contests. We use old problems. So what that means is some students have already seen these problems and they have already solved it. So they're going to solve them very quickly. So they may finish the whole set in half an hour or 1 hour. Don't worry, the objective is to practice. The qualifying round, the final round, and the coaches are writing new problems. Nobody has seen them. So it will be a fair qualifying round and a fair final contest. For practice, if you solve one, it is good. And if you solve more, great. Again, the whole objective is practice. Now, after the final round, the coaches will pick up to 40 students. And we usually form 2 groups. We call them varsity team members and junior varsity team members or developmental team members. Of course, if somebody is good, they go directly to varsity. They do not have to start with developmental. But developmental is mainly freshmen and sophomores, and they are good future prospects. At any rate, we invite up to 40 students to form those 2 groups, maybe one group. Well, the team consists of 3 students, so we make sure the total is the final total is a multiple of 3. Like in recent years, we've had like 36 students on the team, so like 12 teams. Before I forget, everybody is welcome to our practices. Our practices are not limited to team members. After we have the final round and we announce like 36 team members or I don't know, 30 team members or whatever many we have. If you are not in the group, just send us an email, say add me to your email list. And then when we send emails saying we are practicing this day and time, you will get those emails, and anytime you can join us, you are welcome. And remember, practice makes perfect. The more you participate, the better you get. Now, the competition is individual. You are not supposed to help each other, so please make sure you work as individual. The practice contest qualifying round is online, so you can use online resources, like let's say Geeks for Geeks or whatever other site you know that explains algorithms and provide code. A final round will be on campus, so you will not be able to use those resources like Geeks for Geeks and things like that. Now, we may have to register everyone into ICPC database. Again, that is International Collegiate Programming Contest. If you register, you may get an email from them. Don't be surprised. And companies, they know our record. They know we have good students. So they're going to contact you, or they may contact you for internship or full-time job. If you are not interested, just say no, thank you. If you are interested, you follow up with them. And I mentioned at the beginning, there is a part 2 with system details. Please make sure you watch part 2. And good luck with competition. Thank you.